Okay, guys. So I wanted to do this bowl with compressed up here and then talk a little bit about what we did here and work through just the points. I'm actually liking that one, and I'm liking that guy. Anyway, so once again, the compress is going to come out dark. I'm going to go in there as light as possible, right? Be sensitive to how much I'm pressing down. So let's go up in here a little bit. I'm going to go in here and just let's try to make this guy about this big. All right, so we're going to work around here. Now, if you're on the side of the compressed, you're going to get some great marks. I mean, they are like really pretty wild marks, right? So I'm still thinking about, um, where things fall in relationship to each other. I might do some practice. I'm trying to get the top of that guy in there now. So I'm looking at where the top oval is in relationship to this part. And this might be too round. It might be one bulb out a little bit more. But in here, I want to go in here. And I'm going to go in here. And I know the back is in there. And there's some shadows in there on the side, so we'll drop them in. Right, and then there's the side in here which I see a little bit, and then in here, and there's some shadows in here. Right, so I'm going in as really as light as possible on this. They're out in here, but I like those marks, so I'm going to just really not try to work them. And then in here, and now I'm talking about noticing things, and I notice that the foot that it sits on is narrower than that. So right away I go, it needs to be narrower. And then once again, it's like, where does this stuff come in when I make a connection? Where's that foot come in on the bottom of the vase, right? And that guy's in shadow, right? So that wasn't that bad for a short drawing, right? And like I said, it seems like it wants to be more like that in there, all right? So if you go in heavy-handed with this, you're going to get really frustrated. If you go in lighter, you'll and build it up a little bit at a time, it'll feel better, right? It'll feel like a better drawing. And then you still can get sharp marks in here, like that's a sharp mark, that's a sharp mark in there, okay? So the whole process, just to review the process again, you're trying to catch the flow of the object. Even if it's, a slight cone shape, there's a flow to how those sides flow down. Or in here, this strange decanter, vase shape, boom, boom, reminds me of Mr. Peanut. Um, anyway, so it's like an ebb and flow in there. Or what happens in here with the complexity of that piece up in here, which, right, you can see how complex it is, but you don't have to get everything in there, guys, right? You just want to pick out things and go, okay, because you only got pick out things that you feel like is important to show, like the chisel marks. But first you're working for that flow and that overall shape, the relationships, how wide to there, things like that. But you're trying to trust your gut on this and go back to that first rule that we've been talking about, which is draw what you see. So as soon as this thing goes up in here and you start going like, oh my God, it's complicated, it's this, it's that, there's too many curves in there, there's too many that, you're like letting this thing freak you out. If you trust these things, your eyes, learn how to trust your eyes, and then just keep working those relationships and have fun with how you draw this. The gestural drawing should be fun. So this brings me up to this point called satisfying the equation of structure and freedom. So we have structure, right? We have relationships in here. How wide, how much it curves over. Where's this in relationship to this up in here? What's this width to the height here? How much does this come up? How big is this in relationship to that, even to that? How I see that, how I see the bottom, how far this comes out, how this guy is symmetrical, right? And how those sides work together. That's all the relationships. That's the structure. The freedom part is how you get to choose, how you choose to describe this, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different drawing materials. graphite, compressed, willow, and Conte. 4 different drawing materials that do 4 different things. Willow, because all it is the willow. Compressed, because it has some kind of binding ingredient in it, and it's ashes that have been forced back together, and so you get this really rich dark going on. Then you got the Conte, which has wax in it, right? And so that's going to hit the paper differently than those two. And then you have the graphite, which is more metallic, and that's going to hit the paper or sit on the paper different than those other 3, right? So you got tons of options. When we get to a spot, we don't have to worry about that right now, but what I was going to say is when we get to a spot where I'm saying mixing these drawing materials, leave that guy by himself just for now. We're getting set up, starting to gear up for negative space and perspective. Those videos will be posted on Wednesday. All right. Anyway, this is what I want you to do. I want you to work these 4 study sheets using those 4 different drawing materials. Same object, different object. Don't do the same willow, compressed, graphite, Conte each way. Change it up, change the size, force yourself to draw smaller, force yourself to draw a little bigger, work from objects, work from interesting objects, get in there, think of, 3 minutes, 4 minutes in there per drawing, and keep the process alive and free. All right? All right, guys. So we'll see you in the Zoom meetings. Bye. Whoops.